Well, good morning, everyone. And I could not sleep last night, nor could Budget Lady. So, Budget Lady was lying there in bed awake. She's a teacher, so she was thinking about school, the last day of school, and all the jobs that needed to be done. She said, "What are you thinking about?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking about how they would have attacked Libya in 1987 and how many aerial refuelings they would have needed." She said, "You absolute geek." So here we go, from the world of geekery, from the world of what if, from the world of fiction, we have an S61R pave pigeon from the 1987 Pigeon Paw raid to free hostages and captured aircrew and some French nuns from Libya. It's all what if, it's all fiction. And here we have a Super Frelon borrowed from someone, Israel. Four of these were borrowed from someone who doesn't want to admit liability, Israel. And they were used by the Malagasys to carry the raiding force. They were fitted with radars here to give a weather radar and terrain avoidance radar, and the Malagasys fitted them with a refueling probe. Now this aircraft, number 6, has lain in the Libyan desert where it was abandoned in 1987 after a fault, and it was recovered in 2023. And there's a special place at the Malagasy Museum of Modern Art, Old Art and Medium Art and military equipment, and the S61R and Super Frelon have been unleashed to the public in a new exhibit celebrating the pave pigeons, which is the S61 at this time, and the Super Frelon's role in the Pigeon Paw operation. So this was recovered by the Malagasys in 2023. It had remained in the Libyan desert untouched. Now they had to give because they lost one of the 4 helicopters, they had to give what if Israel a HH-3E to replace it. But they had plenty of those, and they continued to use the Super Frelons for a number of years in the Special Forces role, where it was pretty good for the Naval Special Forces. One, because it's a kind of naval-derived helicopter. It's got a boat hull, and with the refueling probe, it gives it extended range. Now, this is a die-cast model that I've repainted. It's a very basic model, needed a lot of puttying where the die-cast was. And yes, the rotor blades were given a temporary kind of dusting down of desert paint. The paint here is Valley Hose 71028, which I believe is the best match for the Eagle Claw kind of paint scheme. And the aircraft had only M for Madagascar and the numbers on it, no other markings. Everything was toned down. It was a night operation, and the radars were really important in preventing collisions in the dust, and the Super Frelons were the pathfinders for the paved pigeons. So what exactly is a paved pigeon? Well, a paved pigeon is a jolly green giant, which is the HH-3E, which the Malagasys have used in the Special Forces and Combat Search and Rescue role. From 1965, they used them in the Vietnam War in their involvement. Now, the Super Frelons needed some fire support, and the whole raid was really a 500-mile ingress and a 500-mile egress. And they picked this point here on the coast to come across, and they launched from landing helicopter assault ships. At the same time, and we'll cover this in the later documentary, the whole of this area of Libya was subject to a large raid by Vulcans and aircraft carriers that the Malagasys had sent all the way around this side of Africa to get in position. LHAs had deployed forwards on an exercise into the area, and the rest of the stuff, most of the Air Force assets, flew from Italy. Now, Vulcans transiting across to Madagascar at that time was fairly common, because the British had, of course, retired their Vulcans, and the Malagasys were getting all the spare parts that they could. So the Super Frelons led the way in, 4 of those, with the Praetorian Commandos, and here they are, and there's a poll for the leader. Choose the name of the leader. Is it going to be Cluck Norris or the other names I've got? Six Gun Rambori. And each of these Frelons, two of them had the 9 strong infantry teams section there with a 51mm mortar and an 81mm mortar in crew for illumination. And the other two had the Raiders, the Norrisian or Norris Commandos. Some of the protection force and additional protection units went in the paved pigeons. And the paved pigeon was there to give fire support, basically like the role of the MH-60L direct action penetrator. And the reason for that is you can't really have the situation where you're having LZs, planes landing in the Libyan desert without absolute chaos resulting. So whilst the Harriers could support and attacked the area of Tobruk and the air defences around there, the whole lot needed to go in using aerial refuelling from Hercules aircraft. And the command bird was a G222 or C-27A, which I still need to build. I was going to use the Transals, but they weren't really common service, and the Transal doesn't actually have the range, interestingly. So the paved pigeons were there to give fire support. Now, 2 of the paved pigeons had purely rocket armament, and 2 of the paved pigeons were fitted with the tow missile, and they carried the tow sight on the nose. Let me see if I can get the rotor off just to show you it better. And they carried a minigun here in the door. Now this is a Starfix model kit, very basic model kit that I've converted. I've used Air Graphics thing there. I don't know, I've forgotten the name of it. It's not a dust filter, it's the airflow thing, airflow separator. Minigun here in the door. I've cut the door off and added a rudimentary interior. Now notice they don't have any rear windows because glass shatters. You don't want that in there, even if it is sort of shatter resistant, and everything to save weight where possible. Got a little rocket pod tucked away here, the 2 tows, the refueling probe, some basic countermeasures there, and the tow sight there from the Italeri MD500F, some armour panels here full of pilot and co-pilot, tows here, and a 12.7 minigun tucked away there. The rounds would be inside the helicopter with an additional fuel bladder to make up for the lack of the tanks, and fed through the sponson to the minigun. So you've got some forward suppression. You've got the tows there. It does have to hover to launch the tows, but the Sea King and its derivatives had an auto hover feature. Some chaff and flares, radar warning countermeasures under the tail, and some more countermeasures on the back. And everything, like you can see, is just painted really dull to blend in. It was a night raid, but they still wanted to camouflage stuff. So everything was just covered in this desert shade Vallejo 71028 from the paint shop, and gives it a good ability to blend in. Even the aerials were painted. Now when they then served up towards the Gulf War, they got the black patch back here for the exhaust, and the aerials were painted black again. And the whole helicopter has an additional 3 GPMGs, one here covering the rear, and one on this side covering the rear. And the windows are also out, so anyone on board can use their personal weapons from the helicopter. The whole idea is that this long-range helicopter with in-flight refueling can accompany the Super Frelons, give them fire support, take out the Libyan QRF, which came to assist where the hostages were being kept and the nuns were being kept, and their vehicles were taken out by the tow missiles, the rockets, and the fire suppression given by this helicopter. So it's not an attack helicopter, it's a big target. But in terms of deploying to an area like this, this is what the Malagasy chose, and it worked quite well. One Super Frelon was lost on the way back to a fault and lay in the desert, but there was enough space in the S61Rs, the Jolly Greens, or the Jolly Sandy Greens, or the Jolly Sandy Giants even, to collect them. And again, there's no high-vis markings on the tail or anything like that. Now the Starfix kit is a little nice kit. Yes, it lacks some of the detail that the Revell one has with all the rivets and stuff, and it lacks some of the APU bumps here, which you probably need to add. But it's built okay. The cockpit is the main issue because the glass is separate, whereas the Aurora one has slightly better fit of the cockpit glass. The Starfix one doesn't fit as well, so I've had to trim that down as best as I can. I've actually used PVA to hold that in position. Here are some of the commandos there from Elheim Figures and an Ateleri figure, and they are ready to go. The Super Frelon's ready to go. I now need to build a Vulcan and some other stuff, and the G222, the C27A. I hope you like these builds. So here we have the Pave Pigeon, we have the Super Frelon, and we have the start of the builds for the raid into Libya in 1987. Now the Malagasys absolutely love the S61R, and here's the latest standard from 2025. I should do an elephant walk because I've got about 7 or 8 of these to build and one more to go. Keep finding them, but the S61R is still in service there. Very, very well loved by the Malagasys. The Super Frelon wasn't retained in Malagasy service for long. The 3 that survived were given back to the what if country that had lent them, which remains nameless, Israel, and they had to give a CH-53 to make up for the loss. The Israelis then promptly withdrew them, and these served until after the Gulf War. There was various operations in Africa, and this one was retired to the museum. Some of the others were converted and used by the Marines, but the majority of the Pave Pigeons were retired to the museum. So I hope you like this little mini build series. I need to create a new big box to house them all in because the collection is getting built every day, and models are being converted from unbuilt models sat in the loft into fully built museum pieces. Because it's a museum piece, I've not added the crews to these. Whereas the new ones that are in service, I do add crews. And there is the MagTaff, the modern MagTaff forming, some HESCO barriers forming. I've got a load of terrain to build. It's going to be a long project. Stay with me, please. Take care. Goodbye.